you all are very late back to the group, which meant that you just hung on and there was rich conversation. Number two, I was watching all the documenting on the slides and all the ideas that were coming. That made me very happy. And number three, which rarely happens, people got to choose their own breakout rooms, and there was an exact 50-50 split in this group. So exactly 8 people were in the research group and 8 people were in media storytelling. So this already tells me that this is going to be an amazing group, because you have people passionate about different things. If everyone went into research, it would be like, okay, that's cool, but it means that the campaign will have a particular dimension. And this shows that there is a real diversity of interests and spirits in this group. So I think that is all good stuff. I would love to start just to hear, because I know there was also a lot of people that wish they could be in both groups, because they are not mutually exclusive and they both don't happen in isolation. So could we do some sharing just so we can see where we're at in terms of like what the different groups were thinking of the kind of really important starting points and things that we would need to potentially get this campaign going. Research team, Ahmed, Chitra, Rina, Francois, Yana, Rico, who would like to tell us a little bit about what your team was thinking, as well as everyone can follow in the Google slide, the green one. There, oh, wow. Okay, you went off the slide. Let's make that font a bit small. There we go. Who wants to tell us about everything that was written here by the research team?
Yana, would you?
Okay. Yeah, we were brainstorming a lot of ideas. One thing was that we definitely need to collect evidence of harmful chemicals, and would be really good to have them like real life examples. So where do they actually cause problems in a specific village, etc. There right away came an example of Ahmed of a Nigerian village where we posted some research link here from him as well. So that's really useful to tell the stories and show that it's real examples where we can go together with the communication then with that. Then mapping the trade flows better, understanding pesticides, also industrial chemicals. Then we said it a few times that we have to map poison incidents and events that happened also in the past. What were all the scandals that happened? And maybe we can map like poisoning incidences and check them together with import flows if there's a correlation. Then also analyze the policies and regulations that govern hazardous chemicals, not just in the exporting countries, but also in the importing countries, to see how the import actually works and if in what sense the chemicals are regulated already. Then we also, that was something that Rico mentioned, that we shouldn't forget to also look at what alternative chemicals does actually the European Union use now that it's forbidden, because often the argument comes, we need these chemicals for our food security, but that is just what the chemical companies tell the government in the global south, because I mean in Europe we also managed to live without these chemicals, and some countries already banned them, and it also works there to get arguments on that. And also research our opponents generally, so the chemical industry and also governments that are in favor of the imports, what motivates them to be able to react to that. And the last one. Yeah, to research who's actually doing the import, because Rina was saying that mostly it is often the governments actually importing, not individual farmers. So in that case, like when we do this research, if it's really mostly the governments, then we know, okay, we also really need to lobby the governments in the importing countries. that they tell the chemical companies at the EU that they don't want it anymore.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So much for like 20 minutes. Well done, group. For the media and storytelling group, before they report back, the people that weren't able to be in that conversation, is there any other kind of key points of research do we think that might be important? Is there anything we're missing? There's only so much you can do in 20 minutes, but we have more brains. So Agnes, Anthony, Daru, David, Dolores, Elena, Khalid, Lisa, anything else we can think of in terms of research? Because we're helping each other. Dolores, go for it.
And I thought your suggestion before Ishtar about knowing our capacities as a network would also be very useful.
Wonderful. So what internal research do we need to do as well? I'm going to do something right at the end to start that conversation as well. But yeah, what do we look like? Where are our skill sets? I know these calls have anything from like 15 to sometimes 25, 30 people on it. So where are we at? What are our areas of skill sets? What are our areas of interest? How can we incorporate this kind of work into our work? Elena, I see you have unmuted.
No, I was unmuted kind of all the time, but yeah, I mean, no, for me mainly it's also the alternatives. I see it's already there, but it is for things are for different purposes, and it fits the discussion we had in the media group. But will be different things for different purposes.
Wonderful. Okay, on that note, yes, the media and storytelling group, who would like to share some of your discussion? Don't make me pick on you. Agnes, Anthony, Daru, David, Dolores, Elena, Khalid, Lisa. Any volunteers? I see Daru smiling. So the problem with seeing Daru smiling is I'm like, Daru, what did your team talk about?
Oh no, actually, we discussed about what we can do when we already have the data from the research, and also how to engage the media and how to create storytelling material, like to make a short documentary about the how to visualize the impact of these chemicals, because it's not visible. So how to make it visible, like the story of the victims impacted by the toxic chemicals, maybe mercury or pesticide or plastic chemicals, maybe like dioxin. So we discussed that we need to collect the fact of this impact, to the health and also to the environment, like water pollution. Maybe the farmers drink the groundwater after they or also they irrigate the water with the poisonous water from the pesticide. And we also need to make a joint press release based on the findings from different countries, so we can make a story and also a joint press release, so we can share it in the global forum and also share it to the journalists in each own country of the members. And we can also have a webinar to share the findings and in the press release with journalists, and combine with a petition. So yeah, we can have more impact to share the result of the fact we collect from many countries. So it's not only case in one country, but we have to give evidence that these toxic chemicals, it's really toxic and not only happen in one country. Maybe the other fellow can add, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the media and storytelling group?
Yes, and as she rightly said, we discussed lengthily, and all what she has presented were correct. And we even said, in addition to what she had said, that let us ensure that we have the lists of the chemicals which we'll be able to share with the media. Yeah, or certain times we ourselves at our country levels, we may be able to engage the media, the television, the radio, with those documentary evidences. When you sit to the television, you sit at a radio station, you call those chemicals. At the end of that session, you start receiving calls on information from local community members sharing their bitter experiences from what are the effects, and also to have live video interview with those community people where they are feeling the effect of those pesticides. Because for me in my own country, right, we have big oil palm plantation companies that are operating. We have mining companies. We don't know the type of chemicals they are using, but by engaging even indigenes that are working with those companies, you'll be able to get information from them. And during those engagements, you'll be able to have a minute, a second video. So with all those materials gathered, we create a very good content with that is being coming from the research group. We create a unified content that has semblance of what really we want to market to the policymakers. I think we'll be able to engage a very good media houses, because you can't engage media without evidence.
Amazing.
The media depend on evidence. And so those evidence have to be rich. The content that we create, we have to change this to.
Thank you so much. And I think that's so amazing from both the groups in terms of kind of what are the things that are needed to create the shifts, what are needed in terms to do the lobbying, to do the media work, to kind of get more people on board with this. So we don't make this all just pie in the sky. Someone should do this. We should do this. It's always the who's the we and the how. And I think what we're very conscious of, and I think what EEB is very conscious of, is that this group is an incredibly diverse, amazing group of experts working in different countries on different things. And where a lot of global campaigns sometimes struggle is that we need to, exactly what Rico was saying, we need to make sure that it has local nuance, because as much as it is a global campaign, every country experiences it in a different way. And so for a global campaign to be successful, for example, pressure on the EU to be felt, it means that this needs to live out in different countries in different ways. But luckily, we have technology and ways of sharing this and ways of sharing information. And I think what's really important and what's really coming across here is like we need a way to create a repository, a strategic repository, not like an archive where everyone just dumps stuff, because that's my worst. When people create like a SharePoint folder and they call it resources and everyone just fills it with a million PDF articles that no one is ever going to read. A strategic archive, and I think the research group has already started pointing out the key elements of research that are needed, that we all can go to and gather information. I know I was talking to Geraldine a little bit earlier before. What were you thinking? No, there's also been so much rich information, not only from these workshops, but there's been webinars as well that also, like if people want to know information on a particular thing, there's a webinar. It doesn't, you don't necessarily need to go and root out a whole bunch of articles and sit for 3 days reading. Maybe there's an interesting webinar that you can watch. Geraldine, what could be done in terms of figuring out a way to keep information for this group?
Well, perhaps one good source will be creating a Google Drive. So in this Google Drive that we can create, because Teams, we have seen that is not working for everyone. So in this Google Drive, we could create a folder where everyone can gather all the evidence or all the, if you have read, for example, an interesting scientific paper, and you think it's relevant for everybody to read, so we can have more arguments on the campaign that we are building. It would be good to have it stored here and everyone can share it and have access to it. So I think that Google works well, and we could start using it.
Would that work? A Google Drive folder for people? I'm getting a thumbs up. I'm getting a thumbs up. I am asking as someone who has worked on global campaigns before, I beg of you, when we do a Google Drive, let's think about strategically. I know this might just be my meticulous filing person, but like, let's think of the different themes. I think the research team has also pulled a lot out, Geraldine, that you can see, like the different themes are actually quite clear around what is the kind of information that is needed, so that people don't just have one mass archive. So let's think strategically about how as a group, when you share the Google Drive, when we want to put information into it, let's think about what would make sense. Let's call it what it is. So if you have a really awesome article and you've downloaded it and you want to share it with people on the Google Drive, can we rename it from 5689293 download? Because a lot of the time we don't want it to be a tiresome thing. Often these shared folders are, people don't end up using them because they're quite tiresome, and actually I have to now click on these names that I don't know what they are in order to read what the article is about. So let's think about, how would you like to receive information if this is going to be a communal archive? So think about the name of the document. Maybe if there's a bunch of you working in a particular country, maybe it might be useful to make a country folder and say, this is the information that is specifically relevant to this country, to start really pulling this together. Because I think what has come out of this call a lot is we need to start kind of synthesizing and kind of having access to the same information for us to start developing materials. Another thing I think would possibly be useful is also when it comes to media and storytelling as well. If there are links, if there are already existing videos, because I'm sure that there are. The idea is also that we don't want to reinvent the wheel. There's research that already exists. And once we've seen it, and if we identify a gap, then we can pursue a gap. It's the same for media and storytelling. If we looked at the stuff that the content that Lauren talked about in the last workshop, there's content there. Let's put it in one place, because it might be useful in your context. It might work until you have such a time where you can make your own video. Maybe you can use a video that's already in existence and partner it with a message to say, this is an example in another country, but it's happening here as well. So not to say that you have to go out and get a professional film crew right away. Like, there's things that we can, resources that we can draw on. Again, what I can put, for example, in the Google Drive is I have many resources, for example, on message development and how to develop messages and toolkits around that. That could be useful. So I think that's a wonderful thing. Thank you so much, Geraldine. If we could set that up, and then this group can start populating it with the information that would be useful, that would be an amazing start.
Yes, and also we could share, as you said, digital tools, because you were talking about storytelling, and I don't know if you have heard about GIS, which is a tool to map. Since we were talking, at least in the research group, we were talking about mapping. That is important to see, to make the connections from this country, the chemicals is being exported to this other country. So with some digital tools, we can do some maps without having a lot of knowledge of how to use, how to make a beautiful maps, because the tool will already help us to develop it.
That is amazing. And this brings me to my final request from this group. I've just quickly gone. And so you see in the where everyone put their homework. Let me reshare the link. If we can go to where everyone put their ideas, I'll share it again in the chat, because this is already starting this conversation. And I'd love to, in the last few minutes, move the conversation to this, going, can we all go to the last slide, which is blank, with blue empty, it has blue empty post-its saying, what do I have access to? Understanding that the world is on fire at the moment, both literally and figuratively. We are all doing this work day in and day out in different ways, in different capacities. We also have different amounts of bandwidth. I think for me, I always like a realistic campaign collaboration than an idealistic one, because if an idealistic one, we're going to go do this and this and this and this organization, like we end up burnt out. And the fact is, at the end of the day, we have a lot on our plates. But also, if we work strategically and collaboratively, we actually can also share a lot of time and move forward together much more effectively. So I'm a big fan of honesty when I share with partners that I work with and colleagues that I work with of the things that I can do and I can't do. And that's okay. And so what I actually want us to share in this, don't worry, again, it is not a crazy hard and fast commitment, but I want you to write thinking about the work you do already, the spaces that you're in, the communities that you collaborate with, the things that you read, the things you've written. What could you possibly contribute to this campaign? What are things that you have access to? What is your skill set? Maybe actually you are really amazed, like you already do this work in this community, and like you already thinking, hey, I can go and take my cell phone and do like a 30-second video of someone talking about the impact they had. Maybe someone here already is like, I saw Yana already say there's this piece of research that I would really like to do. That's a gap. Geraldine is already talking about this map app. Maybe it would be great if Geraldine could say, I know this this program that we could use, and I could start it off around creating a map of our landscape. So I would like us to take 2 very quick minutes to just write our name and what's the kind of skills, resources, pieces of research, whatever that we have access to and that we can maybe contribute. Dolores is first out the gate. Don't forget to put your name, please. And again, don't worry, we're not gonna come. Ahmed, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if this would be useful, but I wanted to mention that in September, my organization, of course, in collaboration with Nigerian government agencies for enforcing environmental protection, actually collaborating to organize the first Nigerian plastic stakeholder dialogue. And of course, one of the things, the conversation we're also trying to bring in is chemicals in plastic. So we're trying to see as cover as many of chemicals exposure as possible. So I'm was thinking if it's possible, we could use this platform as well. There's a message we could actually put on the ground because chemical is a big issue in Nigeria. It's a very, very big issue. But of course, it doesn't get the necessary attention. So we're hoping we could use this opportunity to actually get that conversation started.
Wonderful. That's
Thank you.
amazing. And this is an amazing group of really international people doing a lot of things. Ahmed, I would ask you, what is it that you need? What would you need to be able to talk about this issue on that platform confidently and maybe would make your argument stronger?
Okay. Okay. I'll say, of course, research, like everything we've talked about, especially local research. Like there's a link I shared, a research I shared during the research breakout room, which actually evidence. And of course, I have also a close friend who has lost both his parents to kidney diseases, because this is very prominent in this particular location. And even so much that the Nigerian Legislative House, the Senate, was today asking the government to establish a special kidney hospital, a specialist research and hospital in that same region, because it seems to become the headquarter for kidney diseases because of this exposure. So research like this that can actually point to evidence that anyone cannot deny. I think this is very key. Also, if we could have representative from the group who actually probably wanted to also speak to the issue, join, because it's going to be an hybrid section. So that would be also fantastic. Because we just need to continue to, keep mentioning this, and of course, make sure that it get needed attention. Because like I mentioned, sometimes some of the major problem is the government officials don't have necessary capacity. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, honestly, this is a problem. I've worked with side by side with government officials. Like this dialogue, we're not supposed to be the one leading it. They were supposed to be the one, but they don't even have the capacity. Many of the time, this is what happened. They don't know even how to communicate some of this challenge, if they really exist. What is the magnitude? So it's always important to actually help to support them as well. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So also bringing another point here, and I'd love to ask the EEB team what you think. This for me already is just this conversation, just what he just said now, like that already brings up a very useful opportunity. It's happening already. There's possibly an opportunity for someone to come and speak about this, but there is a need for resources. What would be, I'm wondering what would be also the best communication platform amongst this group, because I think that's quite an easily solvable with this amazing group of people, whether it be an email thread or something where people can just say, hey, my organization, we're based in Nigeria, we're having this meeting or conference. Actually, this issue would be really useful to insert it already, which takes very little time, energy, and capacity because it's happening already. Would someone be keen to speak? Is there resources that I can give? Is there research? What do we think? What could be a cool way to kind of harness the energy of this group and moments like this? Go for it.
Yeah, I don't know if people are using the Teams channel. I know it's been very difficult, and we are trying to have the Slack alternative platform working as soon as possible. But until this Slack is working, I believe opening a thread on this topic could be useful. We have a lot of work on chemicals and plastics that could perhaps be useful for the others, and I know that there's a lot of work happening all around the world. So for the time being, until we have Slack, I would suggest Teams. But if this doesn't work, if Teams doesn't work for any of you, we will need to exchange by email, I'm afraid.
Okay, great. I mean, is that for now? I think, yeah, maybe if you can post something in the Teams channel, or even I send you the emails that I send to remind people about these meetings and the workshops, etc. There's an entire email thread. So I think we've known each other for long enough now that we can be comfortable saying, hey, I actually see an existing opportunity that we can put this messaging in, that we don't have to create a whole new meeting around it. And I think we should, especially what Ari was saying around time, like the time is short and the time is now. Where are the opportunities now that we can insert this messaging? So that's great. So if you can just put any calls, if there's particular research that's needed, I think utilize the Brains Trust. It will make life a lot easier because there's a lot of brains in this Brains Trust. Very conscious of time, knowing that we have 7 minutes left. I did want to hand over to Dolores because we have an example of like what I'm going to pick on Ari again. What Ari was saying earlier is that there's stuff happening. There's as we build this campaign, there's things that are already happening. There's groups that are already meeting. There's advocacy tactics that are already in process. And there's some things that we can already start looking at, supporting, engaging with, communicating with. And Dolores has an example of exactly that. Dolores? Oh, you're on mute?
I'm still mute? No, here.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is a proposal from Laurent. Remember, he made this, he presented to us the campaign and the research they made in public eye, and he presented to us during the last workshop last month. So he has shared a draft position paper that a group of EU NGOs are preparing. They are trying to revamp a position paper that they wrote some years ago, and now well, are working on it. So right now they are in the phase of preparing the position paper. So we are all invited to give comments until the 2nd of September. So I will share in the chat and perhaps later for the homework, perhaps Ishtar can share the link. It's a Google Doc. So you are invited to suggest anything that is missing. So the aim of the position paper is like to try to have a background paper that is useful when you go to meet with politicians. They are thinking, of course, about the EU politicians. So you are invited to give comments if you see that this kind of paper is not useful for your context. And you just say this, and we can then resolve and do 2 position papers or one that includes everything. But it would be great if we could already as a network contribute to this and bring in all these ideas that we are having. So you're invited to suggest changes, to flag things that you think are not working, are not needed, not useful, to make amendments, to share links, whatever. And also once all these comments are ready, I believe Laurent will clean the document, and then we will be invited to sign on to this position paper. And it would also be great if each of us can share the position paper with our network, so we gather as many as signatures as possible. So we already have this like a big long position paper draft starting.
Wonderful.
So
And so what's the deadline for that?
2nd of September.
Okay, great. So we have a little bit of time. That's awesome. So yes, I can add that Google after this call. I'll put together all the slides that we worked on with all the suggestions as well as ideas, and I'll send that out with that as well.
Yeah, and just Laurent asked us to do the suggestion mode when including comments. Do not edit.
Hold on, let me just check, because actually what I can do is, hold on, is share it in a way. Oh, I think it actually, hold on. No, don't worry, it's fine. They've been very sensible and they've shared it only in a way where you can suggest. It's always my biggest nightmare that someone will go into editing mode and just delete everything. But don't worry, that link is in suggestion mode. So feel free to go ahead and suggest, and I'll share it with everyone afterwards. If there is nothing else burning from the group, that brings us to the end of the session. I think we've done some amazing work today around kind of what our next steps could look like. We've got some concrete things around developing that archive where we are all committing to kind of populate it with the information that we have access to, with the toolkits we have access to. And we've started a little document here, which is wonderful, talking about what do we have access to? What is our skill sets? Because I think essentially maybe the Teams platform can be that as well, like a community notice board, but for our community of what are the things going on, what are the things that we need, because we've all been doing, people have been doing this work for a long time, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel. It's really about synthesizing and bringing together what already exists, making it cohesive, and then going out and amplifying it. So that's it from me. 1 minute early. We talked earlier about what thing are you looking forward to this week? Go be free, especially all of you that are going on holiday. I'm wildly jealous. Oh, Dolores, go for it.
I'm really sorry to talk so much today.
Not at all.
No, it's just to tell people that we are working on trying to have the hybrid. If next meeting is the face-to-face meeting in Bucharest, and we'll try to have it in a hybrid format, and we'll come back to you. Not sure, but we are working on it.
Oh, good luck. Thank you so much. Those of you who are going back to work, enjoy your work. Those of you who are going on holiday, enjoy your holiday. I'll see you next month.
Bye.